Hi, it's Mark Bossert from Top Local Lead Generation. We're here with Dr. Nicholas Jensen from Divine Elements in Vancouver, talking about balancing your hormones. How are you doing today, Dr. Jensen?
Doing great today, Mark. Thanks for asking. How are you?
Good, good, really good. So, what gets in the way of balancing our hormones?
So this is a great topic because we've addressed some of the adrenal stuff, the thyroid pieces, and some of the sex hormones, and so I like to talk about this with every patient, whether or not we're doing a hormonal checkup. It's really looking at what are our obstacles to feeling as great as we can. So when we're looking at obstacles, especially in a hormonal system, we often look at those lifestyle strategies, and then specifically I want to talk a little bit more about the digestive system. So we all know the digestive system, its function, it's really for taking in nutrients, assimilating the food, detoxifying, and really it's speaking to what do you do on a daily basis that's either helping your body heal or helping to create dysfunction. It's almost like the one piece of control that we have to really determine how our body's going to react. So taking a very basic example, if we're eating a fair amount of fast food, it's going to be loaded with carbohydrates and who knows what gets put in sauces and the sugars and things that are in there and trans fats and so on and so forth. This is causing a major surge in our insulin pathways and our cortisol pathway, which is directly related to the stress response. So basically what we do on a daily basis can have a huge impact on what's happening to our hormonal system. So digestion is definitely a very specific topic that is essential for addressing. And basically, so what we can do is either with our diets or with our whatever we're doing on a daily basis is either going to help us heal or help us create more dysfunction. As we do more of the dysfunction, we develop more of these imbalances in our body. So the fatigue, the feeling overweight or poor body composition, so on and so forth. And when we add in good nutrition, our body starts to shift in very positive ways. So any feedback from you on just how you feel when you're putting a good meal in as far as energy goes and
Well, I've implemented a couple of your recommendations, which is, first was the kind of the shake meal, the heavy 30 grams of protein or more first thing in the morning,
Mhm.
and it's amazing the difference in energy level that I have. And then the second one is adding a lot more water. Even though I thought I drank a fair amount of liquid, I've added a lot more water into
Mhm.
my daily diet. And again, another boost in energy, in focus, in being able to keep on task and get things done.
Mhm.
So I'm a believer. Keep
Yeah.
going. What's next?
So it's important to understand that most situations, a hormonal balance is not necessarily a cause. And so whenever, I mean, menopause is a very specific example, andropause for men, perimenopause, we spend so much time just focusing on the hormones are out of whack. But the hormones only go out of whack for the most part because we have an imbalance in what we're doing on a regular basis. Either we're not sleeping enough, not hydrating enough, not getting enough of the right foods in. So this is a really fundamental piece. So what I do is I lay out for every patient at least 5 basic steps to make sure that they're doing in order to address this lifestyle piece when we're addressing hormones. So the first one, as you mentioned, was the hydration piece. So a general rule that I tell people to do is follow a rule of 2/3 an ounce for every pound of body weight. So a 150-pound person, that's roughly around 3.5 liters a day, and generally that's a good amount. Now there's a ton of controversy or talk on water and alkaline versus acidity and Kangen water or ionized water. Basically, our tap water is probably or it is said to have better regulation than regular bottled water. So that's a better scenario. But if we are going to look at proper hydration, it would be ideal to get into an alkaline system. So we're actually helping to downregulate acidity. Most people, in general, especially in a North American diet, are going to be in in an acidic state, which leads to more inflammation, which complicates a hormonal picture. So that's a very obvious one. Secondary, again, looking at blood sugar balance. Blood sugar is totally related to insulin. Insulin and cortisol are two of the or can be two of the real problematic hormones that become disrupted over time. So yes, starting your day off with 30 grams of protein, a nice protein smoothie helps to fill you up, feel satiated, and the research actually shows that 30 grams, uh, no less than this, that amount actually helps to convert fat tissue into lean muscle. And it's ideal for protein metabolism and blood sugar metabolism. So if we were to look at that, anything more apparently doesn't do a whole lot more than the 30 grams. So I know there's a lot of people out there that are pumping tons of protein in their bodies. Maybe you don't need that much, but 30 grams seems to be the number. The next piece is something we call the anti-inflammatory nutrition plan. If you've seen your naturopathic doctor, this is a very common prescription as far as diet goes. Inflammation and blood sugar irregularities are huge contributors to chronic illness that will show up over time. So when we're looking at an anti-inflammatory diet plan, it often involves looking at someone's food sensitivities, which is a whole other topic which we can get into later on. But basically these pieces that can be put into our diet so regularly are going to be major contributors to inflammation. And again, inflammation is a precursor to the effect of the hormonal imbalance. Next thing is a very common one that your mom's been telling you to do ever since you've been a little kid, and that's get to bed early. We are, as a culture, night owls. We tend to stay up as late as we can, and most patients say, that's my most productive time. Do not take that away from me. I need to work late into the wee hours of the morning. And when we start to do this, we really suppress our natural hormonal or circadian rhythm. So particularly melatonin, which its peak release is between midnight and 3 in the morning, and then growth hormone subsequently rises with the rise of melatonin. So this is a really critical piece. And lastly, number 5 is exercise. So there's too much information out there showing us exercise is beneficial. How many of us are couch potatoes or lead more of a sedentary lifestyle because of work, sitting down for most of the day? We need to get up and move. I don't need to be a research scientist or a naturopathic doctor to tell you that you need to move. That's pretty straightforward. One little point that I do encourage people to consider is when you're exercising is important as well. So ideally you're doing an early morning exercise before you take in your protein smoothie, which I often recommend. And that's shown to help with metabolism, helps with the fat burning process, but also helps to support healthy later evening melatonin surges. So that's the top 5 list. What do you think, Mark?
Those are sort of like very obvious. I mean, the only one that I maybe have I'm not totally clear on is the anti, what was it? The third one.
Third one was the anti-inflammatory diet plan.
Anti-inflammatory diet plan. Like, what are we cutting out or adding in order to have?
Yeah, so a typical anti-inflammatory diet is often coincides with food sensitivities, but the typical pro-inflammatory foods are your dairy, wheat, gluten, red meat, too many grains in general, sometimes eggs or soy, sugar is an obvious one, alcohol, coffee. Some of these are very obvious for people, others are not, because they're part of the food pyramid that we've all been taught so well, that you got to get your grains in, and then your dairy, and then your meats. And so we've been, led to believe that these are great foods, but in fact they're actually very pro-inflammatory. So inflammation is really modulated in part by prostaglandins, which are related to omega-6 and omega-3. Everybody knows about omega-3s. Omega-3s, we need much more of them to balance out this inflammatory cascade. And if there's a lot of buzz about the paleo diet, and there's nothing wrong with that. It really promotes getting in good quality vegetables and good meats as far as protein goes. I have no problem with meat protein, but in general, red meats are more pro-inflammatory. So if people are experiencing arthritis, hormonal decline, precursors to cancers and things like that, sometimes too much of this red meat is not a good idea. So that's where we educate about portion sizes, type of cooking, the type and quality of meat. All those can play a hugely important role.
Awesome.
So hopefully that highlights a little bit more, and thank you for reminding me of that piece.
Well, it was a question that popped into my mind right away. It's like I understand all the other ones pretty clear, and I've put most of them in place, and am feeling great, feeling better than I have probably in 20 years.
That's great.
another part of that motion kind of thing for me has been like I stand up all day now. I
Mhm.
I have a stand-up desk. Believe it or not, I'm standing up right now. So and that's made a major difference. I mean, my back pain is way down. I just feel way better in lots of ways. So all
Mhm.
of these are little incremental changes, I think. That's how I've experienced it anyways. Nothing's been like the wild, I'm
Yeah.
Superman.
Yeah.
That's just not going to happen anymore. I was in my 20s.
Right. Well, anything's possible. You know that, Mark.
Well, I think there's realities too of
Right.
age.
Right. Of course. But yeah,
But yeah.
I wanted to talk about just a recent patient that came in and about their success story. So this patient was on hormone therapy for roughly about 6 months, and he was doing great, making some good progress. However, there were some limitations to how much could change because he did have some irregularities in some of his food habits, and he was overweight by about 50 pounds. Um, so we implemented a specific weight loss program in our clinic, which we call Healthy Transformation. And within the first month of implementing, he lost 18 pounds in total, so almost 20 pounds in a month. And he came in and he was feeling not only extremely satisfied with the fact that he was able to follow the plan, but he made huge change in his energy and his digestion and his mood, and the hormonal plan really started to come together. And it's not just about the weight, it's really about the weight loss plus detoxification plus the change in the food habits, and really starting to take responsibility for what this individual was actually putting in his body. So it was part of a whole transformation in consciousness around food, around portion sizes, about what the body is actually capable of doing when given the right tools. And what that helped to remind me was that, when we do see patients, as all doctors do, we tend to really get focused on, the pieces that we know really well. And when you bring it back to the basics, like the 5 things I recommended, and just focus on proper lifestyle changes and some weight loss and detox, we start to get more of a holistic picture of what's actually happening. And so we can, like I said, we can get so focused with what we do, we can prescribe nutraceuticals or pharmaceuticals based on a symptom profile, but in general, we can fix up a lot of these external factors and weight loss and body composition and whatnot with these remedies, our body will adjust accordingly. So it was a great success for this patient, and to be able to be a part of it was fantastic.
Awesome. So we've been talking with Dr. Nicholas Jensen from divineelements.ca in Vancouver. You can call them. Check their website out. There's a new website coming, but you can also give them a call, 604-568-3735. He's my naturopath. I recommend him highly. Thanks, Dr. Nicholas.
Thanks so much, Mark. We'll see you soon.
Bye.